Hello, happy Friday, everybody. I missed you guys last week, but we are back today, and I'm excited to see you all. I am kind of weighing the options of two different topics today over in Discord, and I think basically we just want to talk about both of them. So we'll see how far we get in 1 hour because it tends to go by so fast. But I do have a few uh housekeeping kind of things. I'm experiencing some brain fog, so we'll talk about some health stuff I've been going through. My shirt says paperbacks and pool days. You see this? It's like an oversized shirt. This is from Piper and Ivy. Paperbacks and pool days, because I am planning to read as much as I can this summer. Let's pull out some books and start reading because I need it. So that'll be part of our discussion about kind of hope and getting out of a negative spiral and things like that. But I also did want to talk today about how I'm plotting the shadow games and some of the process that I'm going through, just to kind of talk through some process stuff for writers, for those of you that are readers and kind of want to see behind the scenes, or for those of you that are writers and just want to see how somebody else is doing it. So I'm going to kind of talk about that a little bit today. So you're going to get that for your mom. Oh, I love it. I got two shirts, and one of them says paperbacks and pool days, and one of them says in my plot twist era, which I feel like is so perfect because I am plotting to the twists, if that makes sense, which we'll talk about in a second. Not to go to, this is going to be slightly TMI-ish, but I just feel like I don't keep anything to myself about myself. So I'm just going to tell you. Some of you already know because we've been texting about it, but last Friday I went to Six Flags with Andrew and his class. So it was actually 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So it was a bunch of the kids, and it was hot, but also, a lot of walking, a lot of other things. And I passed out in front of all of Andrew's classmates. And it was very embarrassing. And I was in a lot of pain and just going through some rough times. And I feel like this is going to kind of go into our discussion about spirals, because I feel like, as you guys have been witness to, every time I keep trying to get back into the hustle, get back into, okay, we're going to get to work. We're going to keep, I'm going to show up for everybody. I'm going to be the best I can. Like, even if I am feeling like, okay, I really need rest, there's also this sense of responsibility. I've got lots of stuff going. I'm running multiple businesses. I'm trying to write this book. I've got a Kickstarter that's launching in July. We have a lot of family stuff going on. It's about to be summer. Like, those of you that know, like, a lot of people call it May-cember, because it's basically like December for parents when you're working on school or if you're a student. And so it's just like, I keep trying to get myself out of this sort of health slump in a way that I've been in ever since, really. And I don't think this is a coincidence. Since I finished The Disappearance of Vanessa Shaw in October, I think that I really just pushed myself to a limit. Many of you know that I was having lots of eye strain. I was working sometimes till 6 a.m. because I was like, I have to get this book done. But I also had Preptober stuff going on. We had Spooktacular. I had Rough Draft Challenge, where I was dropping NaNoWriMo and basically trying to start my own challenge. There was so much stuff going on. And I think that it is so true that when people say, even though it's kind of a, this is a brain fog, like I can't get words. It's not a platitude, but it's just kind of a thing people say, that like, if you don't slow down, the world will slow, like your body will make you slow down. And I think that is exactly what has happened to me, is that I have been pushing for literally probably 7 years now to keep as consistent as I can with content, keep showing up, keep, feeling like I have to show up 100%, et cetera. I don't think it's really a proverb. It's just, it's just a saying that people say. But it's sort of like it's a cringe saying to me. Like, I hate it when people say, oh, you can't, I don't know. I can't express myself 100%, but it's just like one of those unfortunate things that has come true for me, even though I didn't want it to come true. Because in general, I am somebody who really likes to be super active, and I am much happier when I'm active and I can handle a lot on my plate and I enjoy it. But I think I just pushed over the edge, right? There's a I don't know, one of those kind of like pieces where it's like, okay, I can handle this much, but I couldn't quite handle this much. And my body just was like, whew, I don't know where responsibility is. Let's see if I can find that real quick. Um, I don't know if I can find it fast enough. I feel like responsibility is not super high. Let's see if this only has my 5. This only has my top 5. What's the link? Clifton Strengths. See if I can pull that up while we're kind of chatting. I will look and see. But yeah, I it's I don't know. It's kind of complicated because it's like I enjoy and like being busy, and I get a lot of criticism for it because people are like, "Oh, you shouldn't be that busy." But like we all should be busy to the point that we're happy being busy. It's like nobody else should be able to tell you when you're too busy or when you're not busy enough because we all have different thresholds. But I just pushed over a limit somewhere. Also, it's less about how busy I was, if I can explain it. It's less about how busy I am and more about how aligned I am. So what I mean by that is, where am I not fully committing to the things that I really want to be doing, and where am I still showing up out of pressure or where I feel like I'm people pleasing, right? And I think that makes a big difference. So responsibility, 16. So responsibility is right in the middle for me. Um, but oh, thank you so much. Not just trying, but actually succeeding. I know, but it's like it wasn't like what I wanted, right? But this is so true. It's like when you have a chronic condition, sometimes it just knocks you down. And I have been dealing with knockdown, knockdown, knockdown. And I have been resting as much as possible, but with the rest also comes some level of like discontent because I like to be busy. So then it's like I keep trying to pick myself back up, and my body just keeps saying, nope, you need to rest. Nope, you need to rest. And it feels super frustrating. This is definitely going to tie more into the conversation about hope and spiraling more so than writing, but we will get to both of them today. But I think that I had this realization of like what I really want to figure out is how to be balanced with both my writing and live streaming and courses and other things like that. But at my core, I am a creator and I need to be creating. And instead, I was focusing so much on marketing things that I created years ago. And I just needed to realign myself, if that makes sense. But I also have been feeling very frustrating where, yeah, exactly. Thank you, Brittany. It's like I'm in a similar place where intuition is saying rest, slow down, but fear keeps making you push. And it's like, oh my gosh, when your body tells you you need to slow down, I think it is so true that if you don't follow that, your body's just going to make you slow down. And that was 100% shown by my Friday episode, where I basically had an ovarian cyst ruptured right there in the middle of Six Flags. And I have been basically this entire week almost bedridden. So it's like one thing after another. If the kids aren't sick, if I don't have pneumonia, somebody's got the flu, or something else is going to happen. And it's like, okay, I'm finally listening to my body because I 100% need to rest. But there's this fear that if you rest, you will lose momentum or you'll lose all these things that you've built. And so I have been working really hard on shifting my own mindset. So hopefully I can come to you with some energy today to say, here's some of the things that I'm doing, even though I don't 100% have it all figured out, but we can all talk to each other. I think the biggest thing about talking about this is just, I ask that if you have comments about choices that other people are making about how busy they are or how fearful or how guilty or other things, try to phrase it in a way that doesn't feel judgmental, because it's so hard when you're somebody who is an achiever. I'm number 3 Enneagram. I'm like, when we look at my futuristic strategic achiever is, right up there in my top 5, because I like to achieve things. I like to have impact. I like to have momentum. I like to be busy. And I feel like that's a judgment point a lot of times, which could be true, but it also could just be my own perception, which I'm realizing too. But it gets difficult to talk about it, because I feel like sometimes when you say, "Oh my gosh, I pushed too hard," it immediately people are like, "Yes, you're pushing too hard." And it makes me feel like I'm a bad person because I'm pushing too hard, or people don't really understand what I mean by it. And I'm like, oh, it's such a difficult thing to talk about, because we all have different capacities and we all have different goals that we're heading toward. But at the same time, we are all the same when it comes to sometimes our intuition and our bodies and our minds are just going to tell us to take a break. And each one of us, regardless of our capacity or our chronic conditions or anything, every one of us is again eventually going to hit a point where it feels like things are spiraling out of control, or things are out of our control that we feel frustrated by. Like, you lose a job, you get sick, you feel like you can't be there for your kid who's going through something that you can't 100% control, or you feel like there's things that used to be working that aren't quite working the same, and you can't really figure out why. Like, we all are going to hit those points. And sometimes when we hit that and we're in already a state of vulnerability, or the world feels difficult, or we're already in a place where we feel like we're behind or we're too late, there is a danger that we are going to end up in a negative spiral. And I have been really proud of myself, I would say, because I have felt the spiral starting to happen on multiple occasions. And instead of just letting myself continue to spiral, I have been reaching out more for support. I have been trying to talk about it, even though I know sometimes it's, for lack of a better word, triggering to me when people criticize it, because I know it's coming from a place of wanting to help me, but I feel it as criticism. And then also, I know that my brain is going to try to convince me of things that are not necessarily true. For example, there's a limiting belief that I hold that sometimes if you look for evidence of it, it can look like it's true, that if you don't show up consistently online, your people will abandon you. But the truth is, you guys have never abandoned me. Like, all these years, there's been times when I haven't been able to show up, or I haven't been here, or my energy's been low, or I've been traveling, and we're still here, better and greater than before. Years past, right? 5 years of live streams, and some of you are still here from there. Some new people have been here. So it's like sometimes our brains will try to convince us of things that aren't necessarily real or true, but it feels real. And sometimes that comes from conditioning. Sometimes it comes from our own feelings of guilt or abandonment, or any kind of number of things, right? And yes, thoughts are not facts. Thank you, Candace. That's such a great way to put it. It's thoughts are not always facts. Thoughts are not always the truth. And there can sometimes feel like, yes, when I'm so glad you used the word disconnect, Sarah, because it's that feeling of like, here's the things I want to do, but there are real limitations sometimes to pushing your body beyond a limit. And so you have to kind of take a step back and say, okay, what actually belongs to me? What actually can I do about it? What is actually my capacity? Because it isn't true that people who go slower aren't successful, right? It can feel like that sometimes, but that's not actually true. It's also not true that I'm going to hit an age where I can no longer write books, right? Now, maybe if I end up with like dementia or something, there's going to hit a point where I can't write books. But otherwise, I can be 90 years old, still writing books, still telling stories, still going live. Who knows? But there's just sometimes our brain will try to convince us of limitations that aren't real. And sometimes our brain will try to make us feel guilty for taking rest and listening to the limitations that are real. And so I have struggled a lot with guilt this week, because I literally just surrendered. I have so much stuff that needs to get done. Somebody said Kickstarter. Yes, I am running a Kickstarter for a printed coiled HB90 planner with a special live event. And I just had a 2-hour meeting with the team at Inkfluence who is helping me run my Kickstarter. And there are so many decisions to be made, but there's going to be tote bags and pins and washi tape and stickers and all kinds of really cool stuff for HB90. And I have been dreaming of this for a long time, but there's a lot of stuff that has to get done, like all the interior files and all of that kind of stuff. And the files were due on Monday, and I had to message them and be like, well, I can't do it yet. So that's going to have to happen this weekend. I also have been working on a new free workbook for everybody that is called the Finish Your Novel Toolkit. And this is going to be very cool. It comes with spreadsheets, journaling pages, tons of stuff. So if you're a writer and you ever wondered if I love you, this is proof that I have, because I have been pouring my heart into this. But it's like sometimes that timeline has to slow down a little bit. Regarding Kickstarter, any hints on price point? We don't actually have the right quote yet, because the quote wasn't right, because of they quoted Wire O, and I was like, literally the only thing I don't want is Wire O, and they put it in their head as like, we need Wire O, so it's like lines got crossed. But I don't know. I will let you guys know some ideas as soon as I can. There will be lots of different tiers. There's lots of different covers that you can choose from. It has been really fun, but I will let you guys know as soon as I can. But like, I wanted to get that Finish Your Novel Toolkit out by last Thursday. Not even this Thursday, last Thursday, and it's still not finished. And so there comes a point where sometimes you just have to surrender and say, okay, this is the reality that I am facing right now. And how can I not allow myself to spiral out of control into a negative space, and really catch my own thoughts and have enough self-awareness to be able to say, okay, everything is fine. No one is abandoning me. I am safe. It's okay. I'm grateful, all of those things. And so that's been kind of my biggest thought right now. So we'll just dive right into the spiral thing, and then we'll talk about plotting after. But one thing that I think, if you also have been relating to this, where you're like, oh my gosh, me too, like so much going on in the world. I'm feeling the chaos of it. I'm feeling everyone else's emotions. I'm feeling the negativity on social media and all the complaining. I'm feeling the fear about what's going to happen. I'm feeling unsafe about my own finances or my own health, or, just any number of things that can be affecting us right now. If you're feeling some of that, and you're also feeling at the same time any type of panic over your own timeline, then just know you are not alone, because I am talking to so many people right now who are literally just changing their entire business models, quitting jobs, changing. Oh, Beth, federal employee, my heart goes to you. I know there's a lot of changes happening. There's, it's like almost like a lot of our places that are joy places, places of connection, have become places of argument and polarization. And that affects me in a big way, for sure. But also on the achiever side of it is like, oh my gosh, I wanted to have, like, I could sit here, if we talk about examples of negative spirals, I could sit here and I could complain for the next 10 minutes or more about all the things that have gone wrong this year in terms of my timeline, and how I'm afraid of where it will go. But what I have learned, and what I'm trying to do for myself, and I'm not perfect at it, but I'll see if I can give you some tools and a little bit of encouragement. One is you needed to unload your trunk. Yes, that is so true. That is such a great way of putting it, Grace. I love that. Yes, that can often be one of those sort of metaphor for what we need to do first, is step back from all of the things that are causing us stress, step back from, like, almost remove ourselves from our own mental chatter, and take a deep breath and say, okay, yes, acknowledge there's a lot going on. There are a lot of things that have gone wrong. There are a lot of things I'm afraid of. These situations with my health or my money or my social media or the plans that I had in terms of when I was going to get these projects done or this job or whatever. These things are real. However, what can get attached and pulled into reality can also be our own projections of what that reality means for our future. So, just to give you an example, if I wanted to, I could say, "Oh my gosh, I am not running a June HB90. I didn't get this book done in time. There's this, and this has gone wrong." So, what that like, that's facts. And then I can take that and get it mixed in with a projection that isn't true. It's a fear or a worry, and say, "Oh my gosh, what if that means that I'm not gonna make as much money this year as I did last year? And then what if that means that some people get upset and they leave, or they don't wanna buy the course next time, or I lose momentum, and then I don't have a way to teach courses anymore, and then we lose our whole house." Like, my friend Kelly calls this catastrophizing, right? So what you could do is take a truth and then make it a bunch of extra fears. And this is totally normal. We all do this. But where I have been trying to stop it is to say, okay, what is actually true? What is in my control and what isn't? That's a big question. Like, can I control my health? Well, to a degree, there's a lot of things that I can do to increase my health, to rest, to slow down. But I can't just like snap my fingers and not have PCOS anymore, right? Like, I couldn't control whether or not I had that problem on Friday in the moment. It was just something I had to say, okay, well, here I am in the emergency services of Six Flags. This is embarrassing. But there are other things I can do this week to help rest when I needed it, right? And to not push even when I felt like, oh, there's all these things that are due. So trying to separate what's real versus what's imagined or just a fear, what I can control versus what I can't control. And then also getting the lay of the land to say, okay, well, this is my actual situation, not my fear of what it might turn into, but this is my actual situation. So what can I do from this moment on? Another thing that I find, um, oh, I love that. Just when I feel overwhelmed, I hear your voice saying you are right on time. And see, that comes from my good mentor, Amber. She's put that in my ear. I'm putting it in your ear. Now maybe you can spread it on to someone else. And that's the difference we can make in the world. And we keep saying, and that is such a great mantra to have. Like, I am exactly where I'm meant to be. I am safe. So I have certain mantras that I will try, hey, Bethany, to continue to say to myself. And then also, I will just say, okay, here's the truth of where I am. How can I start right now and make things just a little better? Because the other thing that you can start to do when you get into a place of like negative spiral where you can't find hope, or you can't find a spark for the future, or you can't figure out what you want to do next, or you can't kind of get out of that sort of fight or flight response mode in your body, is sometimes it's easier to get into a place where we're examining all the mistakes that we've made, right? So, for example, I didn't have these Kickstarter files ready by Monday, but I have known I've needed them for months. So, if I wanted to, I could just say, well, I suck and I should have had that done 2 months ago. And if I hadn't done this yet again, I wouldn't be in this situation. And I could start a negative self-talk spiral where I beat myself up over not having these files done. And now I had a medical emergency that put them late. And now I'm in crisis mode, right? Like, I could spiral that because I did something that didn't feel 100% responsible. But I have to stop and think, does being mad at myself and spiraling into a negative place actually help me get the files done? Now, there's two ways to look at it. For one, I can say, "Oh my gosh, I don't like the way this feels, and I would like to make sure in the future that I get things done a little bit faster." So I could use it to fix myself in the future. So next time I have files due, I could be like, "Ooh, I better start those early because remember what happened." So I can use it to inform decisions in the future. But beating myself up is not actually going to help make the process of making those files and getting the Kickstarter done joyful, right? It's just going to make it miserable. And so what I've been trying to do is actually do a little bit of journaling to say, why do I want to do this Kickstarter? Why is it so fun for me? Or why is it I was working on this book? And I try to shift my mindset away from the mistakes I've made, the things that have gone wrong, the things that didn't work out the way that I wanted, and shifting it to, wow, I am so grateful that I get to do this Kickstarter. How much fun is it going to be the day that that launches and we all get to see all the new cover art for the Kickstarter? I get to hold an actual HB98 planner in my hands. I get to like share in the giddiness of seeing something I created just like a book, but as an actual planner. I've been dreaming of this for years. And the minute I shift my mindset to how good it's going to feel to get it done when it gets done, the more excited I am to get to work on those files, right? The other thing is kind of, like I said, shifting my mindset away from the mistakes I've made or the way things have gone wrong into, at first, before I start thinking of solutions, I start thinking of gratitude and joy and who am I doing this planner for and who will it help? And oh my gosh, how many people have been helped by this? Or if I think about A Mirror of Shadows, for example, I shift away from, oh, it's so late and I bet there's people disappointed and I really wanted to read this, like all those negative spiral thoughts. And I start purposely spiraling myself into a place of hope of like, ooh, I could think of one specific person, right? Like I could just sit here and probably scroll and be like, oh my gosh, I know that when I get those purple robes made, Jennifer's going to be so excited. So I can sit and think about one of you that loves my books, or I can say, oh my gosh, Timoana is going to love this series because she's going to love this, or everybody who loves Rend is going to love Slate because they're similar types of characters. And that is going to be so much fun to, to explore his character and to introduce him. So I cannot go back and change the past. So if I have made mistakes, I can try to learn from them. If I have gotten off my timeline, I can try to create a new timeline and be more realistic. Oh my gosh, Casey's going to find so many innuendos and inappropriate jokes. It's so true. That's what she said is just going to be playing in my mind. But like I can start thinking about all of you and I can start thinking about the fun that we're going to have as we start reading this story. And it's going to be so, so great, right? And that shift from mistakes and disappointment, which I think it's valuable to acknowledge the disappointment. So we're not just like toxic positivity, everything's great. It's like acknowledge the mistakes, acknowledge the health things that feel frustrating, feel the feelings around them, but also, yeah, putting the word in bed on the end of it and making little jokes like the making yourself laugh, getting back to the things that are fun about it, getting back to the things that make it feel exciting can just shift your whole energy around it. Also, I feel like I've been spending some time lately thinking about permission and allowing myself that part of what has gotten me into the last 6 months of really going through an intense energy shift is this idea of like, okay, who do I really, really want to be in the world? And what is the work that I'm trying to do? What am I most grateful for? Like, instead of focusing, I don't know if I can explain this 100% because like I said, this week has been so much brain fog issues. But when I think about who I want to be and all of that, it's almost, there comes a point for me where I have to give myself permission to fully embrace that, because I have always been, you guys know me, I have always been a vision board person, somebody who's always thinking about the future. I'm always thinking about all the things that are possible. But there also has been a slight disconnect between what I think is possible or what I dream is possible and really what I allow myself to like indulge in, if that makes sense. So for example, I can dream about having a line down the road for somebody, shows up for book signings and there's like 100 people in the room. I can dream about that. But then sometimes when I actually go to take the steps to make that happen in my life, come in. It's going to be a little Evie child. You can come in for 1 minute and say hello. What happened to your bow? You want to say hi?
Hi. Mommy?
Yes.
Are you almost done?
No, I'm only halfway done. 30 minutes.
That's all right.
I know. Can you give me kisses? Okay. You'll put a cross on my head and a heart. All right. I love you.
It's kind of like an X. Because X, they're kind of like hearts.
Okay. All right. We will see you soon.
Hi, guys.
She's coming. I feel like there's a sense of when I dream of that, sometimes I think, but I'm not really allowed to have that. I can hear past voices, past self-doubt that says, but who do you think you are thinking you can have that? And so there's this disconnect between the goal, which feels like far away, and what I actually feel like I am allowed to believe is possible. Does that make sense? And so I'm realizing that I have to start working on this idea of I'm allowed to be wildly successful, that it is safe for me to have 100 people in a room, 200 people in a room, 1,000 people in a room getting excited about my books. That I am also allowed to take rest, that I'm allowed to slow down a little bit, that my success is not dependent on whether I have a new YouTube video every single Friday or a new book coming out every month, right? I can take the rest and follow my intuition. So then that permission slip becomes, I can be fully true to myself and still be successful. I do not have to be anyone else. I do not have to prove myself to anyone. I do not have to manipulate and shift and shove myself into a box. I can be 100% fully myself. And in fact, the more I am authentic and aligned with who I am, even if that means rest, even if that means chronic illness, even if that means taking a break, even if that means 50 pounds overweight, even if that means almost 50 years old, like everything about me is perfect and beautiful exactly as it is. And I am exactly where I am meant to be. And I am allowed to be anything I want and to have anything I want exactly as I am. And that feels almost scary to say, because I feel like I have lived in a place for so long where I'm like, oh, if I want to make that amount of money, I'm going to have to do this, this, and this, and this. Or if I want to be on TV, I'm going to have to look this way or be this way, or I'm going to have to show up with this certain kind of energy or people won't love me. And I feel like it's that idea of like, I know this is such a overused metaphor, but it's so perfect. It's just, sometimes we go into periods in our life where things feel a bit dormant on the outside. Like we can't see the outer achievements. We might look like we've slowed down a little bit. It might seem like things aren't going our way, or we're going through molasses, in terms of our goals or our momentum. But it's like we've become butterflies, right? Like we're taking that previous form that we used to be, and we've cocooned ourselves. And now we're going through the pain of transformation, of saying, okay, things are messy right now. I am changing. I am transforming. And that is not always a process that other people can fully see from the outside. I am going through things on my own where I am shifting, like who I believe it's possible for me to be, what I believe it's possible for me to achieve. And that can be a daily up and down thing, where one day I might be like, you are a piece of what, and you can't get anything done. And I have to purposely shift that mindset to say, no, look how far I've come. Look who I am. And I have to make a choice not to give up on myself, make a choice to believe in myself, make a choice to feel the feelings that I'm feeling, allow myself the rest that I need to have, but also intentionally work toward that transformation, because I think the more I push back against the transformation, the more I'm going to have health issue, alignment issue, and other things like that. And when I fully allow myself to step into this new version of who I can be, which is no longer apologizing, no longer holding on to some of those old stories, and just really allowing myself to come out of that cocoon and really giving myself permission to have some people not like it, to have some people not be excited about the fact that I'm writing more and doing less courses or whatever that might look like in the future. To just be like, I trust that if I follow myself and my own intuition, everything is going to work out better than I ever imagined. It's a courageous thing to do, but also it's a way to really pull yourself back into hope instead of negativity, because sometimes that transition is messy, right? Oh, Jenna says the goo of chrysalis because the glow of blooming. I love that. That's so good. Once I've accomplished something, it's like it no longer counts. Yeah, I feel that too. Your butterfly reference just gave me an aha moment. Holly, I'm so glad to hear that. Yes, I hold myself back. And yeah, as difficult as it is, struggle equals strength. And I think this is true too, Rana. It's exhausting to always have to justify yourself. And sometimes you don't really have to justify yourself. You just feel like you do because it's so uncomfortable being misunderstood, or it's so uncomfortable feeling like, but what if people don't like me? Or what if people think the wrong thing? And I just feel like, yeah, okay, I am learning to let go of that and to say, I trust myself, I believe in myself, and I am giving myself permission to dream as big as I want, and not just to dream, but to truly believe it's possible for me. And that's going to be a daily struggle inside myself because I have not always believed that. And so I don't know if any of this is like helpful necessarily, but just to share um, that piece of it, because it's success and transformation and growth is very rarely just the straight path, right? Where we just go up and up and up and up, and every day is better than the last, and every book launch is better than the last, and every day when we sit down to write, it's just everything flows. Like, that's just not realistic. And sometimes when it doesn't go that way, we blame ourselves, or we think there's something wrong with us, or we think we don't deserve it, or we've seen our own patterns of self-sabotage, like that upper limit somebody said. So if you haven't read the Gay Hendricks book, The Big Leap, highly recommend it. But it's that, giving ourselves permission to be on an up and down trajectory, right? And not beat ourselves up when we have a pattern of self-sabotage, and instead to learn to become aware of it and then gently lift ourselves back up, right? Every time we sense the self-sabotage, we can say, oh, there it is again. I did it again, but that's okay. I love myself. Let's keep moving forward, right? That has been what's helping me through this time. So getting back to gratitude, getting back to the reason why I loved it in the first place, going to a place of self-love, even when it's uncomfortable or not normal, for myself to feel that way, and allowing myself to be supported too. Because I think this is another thing for me, is part of where things are falling apart a little bit, or the burnout stuff, is because I don't really let people fully support me. Even when Renee was working for me full time, she would consistently be like, what can I do to help? Because I'm just doing it all myself. And I think that has come from, first of all, an achiever place where you're kind of like, it has to be done exactly the way I want it done. And I'm so scared that if I let someone else do it, then it's like trauma from doing group projects in high school. Anybody else have group projects in high school where you're just like, I'll do it because I don't want a grade that's less than what I could get because you slacked off? Like, it's such an egotistical place to be. I'm not proud of it, but I was always that person. I'm like, I'm going to get an A and I am not going to let you tank my grade. So I'll just do the whole project myself. Not a proud moment for me, but, I admit my flaws. But I have always had a hard time allowing myself to be supported in that way. And so it's like, even though I have team members, or I have a husband, or I have, Oh my gosh. Okay, Jenna, thank you. I wouldn't even assign those as a teacher. I didn't want my grade in the hands of someone else. Okay, I'm so glad I'm not the only one because I'm like, that is very embarrassing to admit, but it is so true. Um, okay, there's multiple of you that are saying the same thing. I never worked well in groups. I struggle to share the heavy load with others because I like it how I like it. Yes, exactly. And also, there's I think in the same breath, there's also a feeling of like, if I don't have to work really hard for it, then I don't deserve it. And that is another piece of it, like being afraid to make it easy because easy means I didn't really earn it. I don't know if that's exactly what I want to say, but that's on the lines of what I want to say is the feeling of like feel I don't know, like I think it's oh, how do I explain it 100%? But just this feeling of like I am so blessed and so privileged, and so if I don't struggle, then it will look like it all came too easily. That was definitely something that was, not just a family trauma, but a thing that I have dealt with for a long time is people being like, "Oh, well, it was easy for you because XYZ." And it's like, "No, it wasn't easy, and I can prove it. I worked really, really hard on this, and I put my heart and soul into this, and I was up all these hours." And it's almost like a badge of honor to say, it wasn't easy. It was really hard for me. When the truth is, it's okay if it's easy, right? Like sometimes the things that we're really good at should be easy. It should be fine. Like, why can't it be easeful? Why can't it feel fun? Why can't it be exciting? And I think that sometimes when I have started something, it comes from a place like at the beginning of my writing journey. It came 100% up from a place of like, not this is easy, but when I decided to make the switch from I'm going to try for a trad pub deal to, hey, what are these people doing that are self-publishing? Who is Amanda Hawking? What's this self-published? What's a Kindle? Like, I was so early in on it that it was not mainstream yet. And I was just like having fun. It was just pure excitement. It was like, this is the story that I want. I'm just going to write this. And like we were gaming and playing and everything felt just really super fun. And the sales came really easily. And I sort of lucked onto a good strategy. And there is a part of that that made me feel at the time like maybe I don't really deserve this because I didn't work hard enough. And so then when you start to take it seriously and everything becomes heavy, the sales slow down because now the energy is not one of fun and excitement and passion. It's one of how can I do this right? Like perfectionism, self-judgment, and then you hold yourself back from true expression. And I feel like YouTube has done similar type of thing. When I first started YouTube, it was just like, I don't know where this is going, but it's going to be super fun. And then over time, it became like this really like, oh gosh, it's almost like I put rules on myself. Like it has to be this kind of production quality and I have to look great and I have to make sure that every video is this. And oh my gosh, my videos are getting too long. And I just started taking it seriously and it starts to become heavier. And when that happens, it also becomes less successful to a degree or it feels harder. And it's like, you know what? It's okay for it to feel fun and easy and for it to just be something that flows. I don't know. Oh, Make Clean Repeat says, I have the opposite that I never had expectations put on me as a child. So I never had to prove myself. But in a way, it started me of not even bothering to try, which is a good reminder too, that like, we all have our own struggles, even if yours don't look exactly like mine. Like I should actually be grateful in so many ways that I had that kind of pressure because it has served me really well. And it taught me to be an overachiever, which has pushed me into, large success and motivation in a certain way. So it's kind of like everybody has their own strengths and challenges. And even when it comes from trauma, it still can be something that is a blessing. So, we all have our own things, but that's kind of I think the gist of what I wanted to say. And I hope you feel encouraged by that because really and truly, even if you're going through a hard time or a difficult season, it's not going to last forever. And if we come back to a place of true joy, true excitement, it's always going to work out. Like if you follow your own heart, your own intuition, even if you're not, following the algorithms or, all those kinds of things, like it can feel like we have to, but that's one of those things like question it, right? It's like, do I have to show up every single week with a video that's exactly this minutes long? No, I really don't. And just kind of getting some of those own limitations out of my mind and trying to get back to a place of creating from excitement rather than pressure. And some pressure is good pressure, but not negative pressure, if that makes sense. But I'm like, gosh, how is it 3:45? Boo. Okay. So we talked about spiral. I do want to talk a little bit about my plotting process though. Oh, I may have been dealt the hand by someone else or something else, but I choose to play them, and that loss of success is mine, and I own that. Yeah, so it's kind of like there are things that I can control, or can't control, things that were out of my control, but it is my choice how I continue on with the things that I can control. I just did this with my content using my Clifton strengths. I'm so excited about my YouTube plans. I'm so excited. I read so many of Barbara, is it Conklin's books, but they're very formulaic. I feel that it was the same plot with different names. Oh, I don't know if that was part of a different conversation. Crystal, thank you so much. We will talk a little bit about BCS housekeeping stuff too, because there are some things happening over there finally. But yeah, I hope this was encouraging. It's just if you found yourself in a place of a negative spiral, or you just feel like everything is chaos, those are the steps that I've been following that have been helping me, is getting the lay of the land between what's out of my control and what's in my control, what is the truth and what are just my fears, and trying to get those things sorted first, and then getting back to a place of gratitude and understanding, like getting real perspective on my situation. Because it's like, okay, well, it could be a lot worse, right? So let's take where I am now and trying to get solutions oriented and gratitude oriented for how I'm moving forward in the future. But then also giving myself permission to take what I need when it comes to rest or breaks or anything else. So yeah, that's kind of my little chat that took 50 minutes. And then I wrote down all this stuff about my plot. So let's talk about plot just a few minutes. We're just going to whiplash talk about plot. So many of you know that I am currently working on A Mirror of Shadows, which hopefully we're going to start reading in July. There's going to be 2 readings a week. The readings will be free, just like coffee chats. Everybody can attend those. And then people that are in the Broken Chapter Society membership here on YouTube will get some extra behind the scenes. Also, there are actual mail is going out to you guys. I know that Canada is on the brink of a postal strike again, but it has been delayed. According to Melissa told me, it's been delayed for a couple of weeks. So I'm going to do everything I can to get Canada out in time, but we shall see. If it doesn't go out in time, it's okay. Just hang in there. You will get your stuff. I will make sure that you get it. But otherwise, this stuff will start going out probably next week, and then again into the next week, because we have some family travel going on this summer. And when I talk about leaning into rest, I am going to lean into rest and family and reading and joy and all of that stuff in the month of June. So I haven't decided what I'm doing with all the coffee chats, but I will give you guys a schedule and kind of let you know. But then once we move into July, we're going to start those readings. We've got lots of fun stuff. There'll be a rough draft challenge. We've got readings going on here for the Shadow Games and Kickstarter. So lots of little things. But what I'm doing differently this time is I have lots of help. So that's going to be really nice. I am not running this Kickstarter on my own. I am not just soloing it anymore. I've got a big team, nice team behind me, which is great. Oh, knitting sounds so good. I was thinking about, I used to love to do cross stitch, and I used to really love to make beaded animals, which are so tiny, I know, but I do have my reader glasses that I feel like would be helpful. And I was thinking I should really get back into some of that craft stuff. So, you're leaving 2 weeks from Sunday for Florida. That's so exciting. And thank you for this, Emily. We'll still be here even if you take a few weeks off. Yes, we probably so I have plans for a book Kickstarter, but I don't know yet exactly if we're gonna do a Mirror of Shadows or if we're gonna do Beautiful Demons. So I will keep you guys updated on that, but there will be a special edition Kickstarter coming later this year. So we'll see kind of what the timeline looks like for that. But so when I started working on a Mirror of Shadows and started plotting this, one of the main things that I started with was the world building. So I knew that this was going to be a magical portal world. And if you've read Sacrifice Me, you know that Venom, the club that Rend owns, is also exists like in a magical time and space. It's not like a location like France. And inside Venom, there are doors to like Paris and London and Chicago. And so this is going to be kind of a similar type of thing where there are several mirrors that lead into this mirror world. But where there is that single way in, there is no way out. And so it becomes kind of like a magical prison for the Order of Shadows. And so as I started thinking about this, one of the things that I started with, which I start with often with my stories, is the world building itself. Like, what does this world look like? How big is it? What are the confines of it? What are the rules? So because this is a kind of like, I'm trying to think exactly how to explain it, but it's like, I don't want to say Squid Games because it's not like children's games, but it's like every single time the group comes to the arena to battle, they are going to be in a battle that the Order of Shadows has set out for them, but they don't know what it's going to be. So it could be a swamp, it could be a castle that they have to fight through the levels to the top, it could be a duel to the death gladiator style, and they won't find out until they get there what the challenge is and what the rewards and the stakes are. And so really thinking through what are those rules, what do those games look like, who's going to be the player, which then when I start moving toward so I've got the world building, what are the rules of the world, what's the magic of the world, then I start thinking also in this particular world, what's the hierarchy, like who's in control, who are the like police. If it's a prison, there's got to be like a warden or whatever, but it's magical. So what does that look like? So I've been really spending a lot of time setting those bases up, right? Then I start moving into characters. So my main character, her name is Bex, and she is a thief. And true to many of my stories, she is also an orphan with a tragic past. So I start thinking about what's the situation that she's in the present, but also what's her backstory? What's she been in the past that has made her perfect for this story? And why is she the main player of this story? So I've started thinking through those types of things. Then there's also a central romance to this story. So who is he? What does that have to do with things like how are they perfect for each other, but also how do they get on each other's nerves? What are their, yes, Alice in Borderland. That is a really good way to describe it for anybody who has been in this. So Alice in Borderland, if you haven't seen this, I think it's still available on Netflix. That is definitely one of the stories that inspired this, Alice in Borderland, Hunger Games, all of those kind of stories. I haven't read Powerless, but I do have it down here. So that one's on my list for sure. And I did finish Red Queen, and I have also finished Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. And I'm currently reading Mage Light. And then I will read probably Sunrise on the Reaping, but I might read Powerless. I don't know. If anything else makes you, oh, it's getting another season. It seems like it was so over. I don't know how they would do another season. Do you mean Alice in Borderland? It seems crazy they would be able to do another one, but maybe. So I also start with characters with a triangle. So I start to think, who are they at this beginning of the story? Who are they at the midpoint? And then who are they by the end of the story? So that character triangle, that character arc progression. And I'm just thinking on multiple levels here. So I'm thinking book one, and then I'm also thinking by the end, the final book, right? So all of that is part of it. Team dynamics. So my character will not just always be in the arena by herself. She's also going to be part of a team. So you need to balance that magic of like, who's the, like, when I played EverQuest 2, for example, there's always a main tank, there's a ranger or some kind of ranged DPS, there's usually some kind of mage, some kind of healer. So I was like, do I want to build teams kind of based on like MMORPG type groupings or like Dungeons and Dragons type style, which I decided that I do. So I have been working on that. Then once I have a lot of that stuff done, then I start working on plot. And for me, I'm sketching this out as if there's 12 episodes per season. So it will take me 6 weeks to read each book. So the first book is called A Mirror of Shadows. And then there are up to 4 more books. It might just be a trilogy. It might be 5 books. I don't know. Who knows? You guys know me. It could be 12 by the time we're done with it, but hopefully not, because I wanted to have an end so that we also have a book 12 coming. Tank, melee. Oh, wait, hold on. Tank, melee, boom, boom, and cleanup crew. I love it. Yeah, exactly. So you kind of have those dynamics. Sorry. I got excited. But then I have to start putting it together in a plot. And for me, one of the ways that I start plotting best is I think about what's the opening scene and what's the like premise or setup, like what's the main setup of the story, and then what's the ending. And that's kind of usually where I start. And especially because this is a series, I have to think, what's the end of the whole thing? Like, what are we doing? What's the whole point of this entire Shadow Games series? Like, what's the end point, whether it's in 3 books or 5, and then kind of bring that back to what would be the best way to end the first book. And so part of what I have done, and you guys, I have filled out so many of these, so much. You want to know what the seed of Vanessa Shaw was? So the seed of Vanessa Shaw was definitely first of all, it was the game Until Dawn. I played through that game and I was like, okay, I love this premise of a girl gone missing. Also, a girl from my high school, Tara Grinstead, went missing, not when we were in high school, but when she was an adult. And it was like the largest Georgia Bureau of Investigation file of all time. It was finally solved, but just her story, the way that town rumors get moving, the way that people believe certain things about people that aren't true, all of that kind of was a seed for Vanessa Shaw. But we've got, this is probably like the 4th one of these I've started filling out, and then I already realized a mistake, so I've started it yet again. But this is like a graph paper that is 11 by 17, and I separated it into 12 boxes, right? 12 columns. And so the Tara Grinstead podcast was called Up and Vanished, like one of the one that was the whole season long, and that was before it was solved. But yeah, she was a friend of mine in high school. We weren't super close. She was a couple years older than me. We dated the same guy, not at the same time, but once they were broken up, I dated him. So we kind of knew each other, but we weren't super close. She was a cheerleader and a beauty queen person, but she was super, super sweet and did not deserve what happened to her. And I just, after years of like hearing all the rumor mills and all the thinking about that, I just was like, I want to write a story about this. Right. So anyway, I have been filling this out. And as I'm thinking of each individual episode, the things that I'm thinking of is, what's that first image? Like, what's the first main thing that's going to happen in this? What is the trajectory of the romance? Because I want to touch on the romance at least a little bit in every single episode. What is the main conflict, which usually comes from, what is my main character, Bex? What is her goal in this scene? And then how does it all go wrong, basically? Did they find her body? They did end up finding her body. So if you read or you listen to the podcast Up and Vanished, I think they have an addendum after the end, because the whole time he was doing that case, profiling that case, it was unsolved. But because of his work on that, people started talking again. It like brought the case back to life. And somebody eventually basically came forward and said, hey, this guy I was dating talked about this. You should look into him. And they did end up finding her body on a pecan farm out somewhere, buried. It's very sad, but at least her family has answers. But man, that was really tough. That was really tough. And some of my good friends were like her best friends. And my heart always goes out to them because it's just awful. But sorry, we're jumping around lots of different ones. But as I am, and I'll talk about the BCS stuff in just a second too, but as I'm plotting episode by episode, but I always start with the framework of the character arc first. And then I go to what's the ending, because every single scene in the book needs to be leading me toward that final moment, which of course, you guys know me. I don't have to say it. But every single scene or every single episode is I'm plotting to the cliffhanger. So, oh my gosh, the guy we dated was not the murderer, by the way. It was a former student of hers. She was a teacher, and it was a former student of hers, not the guy we dated. The guy we dated is now like the police chief or fire chief of the town. Totally good guy, but yeah, terrible thing. But it was, nobody was even looking at her students, and it was one of her former students. But I start plotting to the cliffhanger. So every single episode is going to have a cliffhanger to it, because you guys know me. It'll be like a resolution and then that last moment of what I call a symbol crash. And so I've been thinking, okay, what's that cliffhanger moment? And then how do I go from where this last one ended to that cliffhanger? And so that has been really, really fun to do. So the very first episode kind of starts with a very brief flashback, and then my character just before she goes into the mirror, and then the cliffhanger of that one. I won't tell you what it is yet, but we have that cliffhanger, and then we pick it right back up in episode 2, and we go straight from that moment of cliffhanger to new drama, new conflict, up to a new cliffhanger. And I am very, very excited for you guys to read this, because I've been working really hard on weaving together subplots. This story will start out with single POV. We will only have Bex's POV. But as we move further into the series, it will I won't tell anyone. As we move further into the series, there will be more points of view that will come out. But yeah, this has been super, super fun in terms of plotting to the cliffhangers. And it's partially because of the way I'll be delivering the story, because I'll be reading it live. So each episode will be between 2,500 and 3,500. Maybe some of them will be a little bit longer word counts. So I have just that, like, let's say average of 3,000 words to basically get you through reaction to the cliffhanger of the last one, and then new drama, like some of them will be training episodes, some of them will be shadow games, some of them will be more emotional beats, some of them will be, you guys know me, some of them are going to be parties, because we got to have a party where everything goes wrong. So I just have really been having fun getting that plotting process, and the story is flowing pretty well at this point too. I have restarted this book so many times, but I feel finally like I have the right start. And so that's why it has been a little bit delayed, but I think you guys are going to love it. So I can't wait to share it with you when we get to July. And I will be announcing an official start date, as well as showing you guys the cover coming up soon. So next weekend will be, we have to see if I'm going to be able to show up next Friday, because it's the last day of school for my kids and they only have half day. But I'm going to try to be here, just because I don't want to miss being able to talk to you guys before we go on the road for a little bit, or traveling around just a bit. So I will keep you guys updated on that. Will you be highlighting this in your videos on how to finish your story? I don't think so. I'm probably going to be highlighting it after that series, when I talk a little bit more about serials. But real quick, BCS stuff. Would I be willing to share some of my outlines? Maybe I'll share some of that in the behind the scenes stuff. But if you have not seen, just some housekeeping stuff for Broken Chapter Society, we now have a Discord server. And I know some of you have had trouble connecting your Discord server to your YouTube. But in order to get into the Discord server, you have to let Discord know that you're a member, which means they have to be able to have access to your YouTube channel. So for anybody that's been having trouble with that, I did post a screenshot tutorial in the comments of today's video. There's just a Google Doc that you can look at and follow those tutorial. And if you still have trouble, then you can tag me in our Facebook group or email me, sarah@sarracannon.com, and I will help you troubleshoot as best I can. It's not necessary to be in the Discord, but just if you are, it's also, Angela, by the way, not necessary for you to have the same email address on YouTube and Discord, but you got to follow the right steps to connect to the correct YouTube channel. So all of that is in the comments down below. Also, we're getting very close to mail going out. Like, we're going to start stuffing envelopes this weekend. And so what we ended up doing after working with Mel is the Google form that I had some of you fill out before is not working right because I got the wrong information from you. So there's a new Google form. So if you haven't filled it out yet, it is in the tab, the membership tab. It's linked there for you here on YouTube. So we're also going to be sending out an email to everyone who we have their emails. If you were previously a Broken Chapter Society member, but you don't have access right now because you had to let your membership lapse, I still want to get you your mail. So if you didn't fill out the form before and I don't have your email, send me an email at sarra@sarracannon.com and I will make sure that you get on the list to get your mail, if that makes sense. So all right. When you're only paying half attention and you hear your name. Yeah. So apparently you didn't have to create a second Discord. I did some research, but we'll see. Hopefully you don't start reading it on July 5th. Your mother's getting married. That's so exciting. I will probably start reading it on July 7th, which is the Monday or Tuesday. I might read on Tuesday. So it might be July 8th and 10th. I will keep you guys updated, but it won't be that first week because, holidays and stuff like that. So I don't want to be stressed about timing, but I will get you guys a little bit more info on what my June schedule will be like. But starting in July, we're going to be starting to have lots of fun with shenanigans when it comes to this story. I know you guys are going to love it. And we'll talk a little bit more, hopefully next week, about how that is playing into book 12 plans, which I'm hoping also will be coming later this year. Book 12 of the Shadow Demon Saga will either be out later this year or very early 2026. That's not a promise. It's just an intention. But I'm feeling like it's probably going to happen because all these ideas are starting to flow and I am giving myself more time to rest and play and just the space to be creative again. And I'm hoping that this month of June, where I'm going to be really refilling the well and spending lots of time with family, is going to be just like extra rejuvenating. So yeah, I can feel the shifts happening and I know it's leading to a really good place. And so I hope that if you also feel that you've had a lot of shifts in your health and your, worries and all of that, that this has just been a temporary down period that is preparing you for the big opportunities and amazing things that are coming in your life. So, all right, you guys, thank you so much for hanging out. I will post that form again in the membership, but if, like I said, you are not in the membership and don't have access to the form anymore, but you were previously in the membership, you are still eligible to get mail. I have stuff for you. So just make sure that you send me an email, sarra@sarracannon.com, or tag me over on Facebook, and I will make sure that you still get your address put in. All right, you guys, I super love you. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for all your willingness to listen to my rambling and, understand that even though I can't always express things exactly the way that I wish I could, you guys are always willing to listen and you get me, and it just means the world. So I super love you guys, and I will see you next time. Have a good weekend, everybody, and happy Memorial Day to those of you celebrating this weekend. All right, love you. Bye.